Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 81. You guys are the worst. Bunch of giggling schoolgirls over here. You're going to be able to rein it in or what? Come on, children.
I can't stop
Sorry.
kidding.
Sorry. I did a good job when I did that.
Yeah, well, welcome
Being
back,
encampment
everybody.
under the gardener.
Sorry, guys. Little pre-show warm-up. That's all it was.
Pre-show ramble that's followed us at the start. That's okay.
Drooling.
It happens.
Okay.
It happens. It'll loosen us up for the conversation to be had here. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network. I'm joined with me today, as always, my hosts here. We got JT, aka Aegon, over here. Aegon. What's your name here?
I tried to
Let us know
combine
why.
I tried to combine two into one, and you'll see during this episode.
Yeah,
You know,
because
character I like.
JT's head looks like
And
a
I-
dragon's egg. There you go.
There you go. Straight
Oh
up.
boy.
And of course, my other co-host here, wise, handsome, and strong, Christina. How's it going? Welcome back.
I'm good, thank you. How are you,
And-
Nico?
Nice.
I'm good. AKA Viserys' mask over here today.
Yeah, you always
Okay.
introduce us. We never introduce you.
Yeah.
How are you doing, sir?
A very good start here today. You know how you complimented me on the intro that I did last time for this one?
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing.
No, okay. So welcome back, everybody. This is our Game of Thrones review show where we kind of do a deep dive conversation episode by episode of the series. We've done all of Game of Thrones at this point, so we've of course naturally had to go start doing House of the Dragon. And Christina has been co-host with us for a long while now. You did all of the last season of Game of Thrones with us as well as a bunch of other episodes of Game of Thrones previous to that, as well as all of this season of House of the Dragon. She'll actually be taking us through the episode today, scene by scene, with the synopsis provided. What is it? Game of Thrones Wiki Online, I believe, is the website we normally use. Yeah. And
Wiki of Westeros. Yeah.
Wiki Westeros. Yeah.
The best one.
Yeah. So make sure to go check her out on previous episodes. If you guys haven't seen Christina join us as a co-host here, but like I said, she's been with us for quite a bit now on the show. And then JT, of course, he had never seen Game of Thrones, so we kind of went through that with him for the first time, having him experience the show for the first time with us, having revisiting it, and that's kind of where we're all at with House of the Dragon. This is, I think, me and Jay's second time rewatching this show, and then Christina, you're like, what? This is your third time, I think, rewatching this show at this point, or
I lost count, but yeah, let's say 3, just so I don't sound ridiculous again.
being the super
I'm like
fan
a
here.
loser.
But yeah, make sure to check out our playlist, guys. If you're interested in ever hearing a breakdown of episode by episode of this stuff, you can go back. Make sure you like and subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram at Late Night Chat Network to be notified when the episodes go out, or press the bell notification on YouTube. And also stay tuned. The new season of House of the Dragon is coming on Sunday, June 16th. We'll be doing weekly check-ins with Christina, as well as possibly other guests that will be joining us for those episodes to discuss them every week after they come out, a couple days after they come out. And these final episodes will be leading right into the new season. We're making sure to get this out on time for everybody, and they'll be airing Tuesdays and Thursdays for these last couple of weeks, these episodes. So 2 more to go after today, though. 2 more to go, guys, for this season of House of the Dragon. After speaking on Driftmark as our previous episode, what a follow-up to this one, right, Christina? Here we go. This is the Lord of the Tides, and take it away, Christina. This is episode 8 of season 1.
In true fashion, I'm just going to follow Nico's lead. Any thoughts on this episode? We started with Nico last time. JT?
You know how you guys are always saying about the time jumps? I feel like this series is making them more distinct as opposed to watching the Game of Thrones, where it was kind of all over the place and you were guessing. These ones are kind of making it more, straight up and to the point.
Well,
like,
these time jumps are
between
just so
episodes.
extreme. Like
I
these ones
feel
are
like they're gonna.
extreme.
I feel like they don't know how much maybe of this series is gonna go on until they get to it. And if they keep it up this way, they can slow it down near the end if it gets a crazy pickup closer to leading into who knows, man. This whole Game of Thrones era, we
Yeah,
never know how it's gonna play out, right?
I don't.
If it's already
Did
so
they
many
say how
years and
many
that far.
seasons they've signed for?
3.
Yeah, so
Three
I don't
more
know.
on top of this one.
No, I
No,
thought it was
like
just
2
3
more on top.
total. I think it
Oh, I
was.
thought it was 4 altogether.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But
I think last I heard, I think there's a confirmed 3rd season, and I don't know about after that.
yeah, don't quote me on that, guys. I'm not
Yeah,
the
you might be right.
sharpest egg in the
I
crate.
can take a look while we're recording.
He's a little cracked.
But
Sorry, I'm full of the giggles tonight, guys. I don't know, man.
overall, you
That's
like
that
this
time.
episode, Jay?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. You know, just how everything plays out and how people, some great scenes depicting again. You know, we're seeing probably people coming and going again. It's just as usual, but we're seeing a lot of new characters too as well in this one. A couple at least.
Patty. Like, just kudos to this man. Fantastic. This episode was
The actor played
incredible.
Oh, you're
Viserys.
talking about me. Sorry.
No,
Jeez, what a great freaking episode. Anyways,
Yes.
this
my opinion.
I might actually go out and say that this may be my favorite episode of the season, honestly, just because the buildup of a lot of these scenarios in this, and this being kind of Viserys' exit on the show as well, because as I mentioned last episode, this has been one of my favorite characters of this series, if not my favorite character. So like, and I thought that he went out an episode later from what I had recalled from watching it the first time. I thought it was like the second last episode that he died in. But then it turns out, I guess, that he had 2 more episodes to go still before when he actually died at the end of this episode. So I was a little surprised by that. This is also, though, like with the start of this episode with the first scene, and I commented on this last episode at how I kind of came to this realization. This was the one that convinced me that because they talk about at the start here, and not to step on your opening scene here,
No, of course, go.
we're going to get into talking about how Corlys there is no longer around at this point, right? Like they opened up the episode saying that, right? And basically, again, like, no, is it Corlys? Who's her husband?
Corlys.
Yeah, Corlys. Okay.
Yeah.
No, not not
Rhaenys?
Rhaenyra. Yes, her aunt. Or
Yeah, Rhaenys.
what's her husband's Corlys, right?
Corlys. Yeah.
Okay. So the fact that they mentioned that he isn't around here and his brother or whatever just kind of is in the picture all of a sudden, this is what kind of made me realize that unfortunately, because of the time jumps and the fact that they've said once again at the start of this episode, we've jumped 6 years forward. We don't have enough emotional attachment to these fucking characters when they say like they're gone now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's so much shit that happens off screen in this show at times. Like the mere mention of like he doesn't look like he got wounded during battle and that he could have died and like that's it. We're not gonna see this guy, and then they just kind of move on. I'm just like, it didn't mean anything. I felt like I was like, oh, okay. Like you gotta like play catch up and accept that fact and then just move forward. And we have no emotional attachment to that character, even though we spent like several episodes of seeing that guy as part of the main cast. But like, it's just like, I barely know that guy. And then all of a sudden for you to say like, oh yeah, he got killed in battle means nothing to me. Like, and then we're just moving on. Like, it's like, moving on. Like, it's like literally like that. It's like, oh yeah, he may have died. Anyways, here's his brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, what? I don't know. It kind of bugs me at times in this show. This is the moment that really drove that home for me, though. Like, it meant nothing. Like he's
I
just like,
know it's just such an easy piece of information to just overlook.
yeah,
And it's kind of even the way that they talk about all of these things that you're talking about, like offline, like not offline, but I mean like in the background, like they're talking about this war again in the Stepstones, and it's like, well, we barely saw what the war was in the Stepstones the first time, and they're talking about it again, and it's like, why don't they show us any of this? Like they're so hyper focused on just talking about the drama with the family that
right.
they're not even like, showing us any bit of what's happening and why Corliss isn't around. Like it's very strange. What,
I,
Jay? Yeah.
I, I feel like too they do if they do that too, as I was saying in the beginning, that if they do that too with that in mind, it's not keeping a lot of characters around. And like I said, where Nico said, where people get emotionally attached. So you have a few main characters that you can keep around for the whole series, let's say, if you need to, and have to pay them the big bucks, as opposed to other people that might be just popping in and out through a couple episodes here and there. You know what I mean? As like we had a lot of the characters in Game of Thrones, we had them through the whole fucking show basically, except for maybe one that you fucking fall in love with right away. But you know, to be honest with you, I feel like they can do it like that too. To save, like I said, they're making it so to see how far they can go because this is post, right? So I mean, it's kind of interesting how they're rolling it out. I find
This is pre Game of Thrones.
pre. Sorry.
So
It's my trade school education.
I get what you're saying in the sense that, like, I guess maybe by wrongfully comparing it to Game of Thrones, like, that's not the point of this show. It should be a bit different. Like, the focus is on this family, maybe not so many of the ancillary, like, side characters, but, like, the problem is, like, obviously there were so many disposable characters in Game of Thrones too, where, like, you got to know them for a season and they would get killed, of course, and then you had your main core, of course. But I just feel like as that show went on, it was such a large cast of characters, where in this show, even though they're kind of in these situations like in King's Landing, the world seems so much smaller. And maybe it was at this period of time because we barely see anybody else outside of like these people within like King's Landing, like on a constant basis.
Yeah,
This
they
family, they don't spend time with like anybody else
they
really.
don't talk about any of the other houses like in depth at
Right,
all. Like they're
right.
just passing characters.
Like, we got like some of the Lannister stuff peppered in like earlier in the seasons, and I just feel like they're trying to do too much, like in certain episodes. Like there's so many things that they have to try to get right, and time stamps that they have to kind of, like, you know what I mean, like the moments that
Well,
they have to hit, like where they're like, this is important, that they really don't give us any extra time to languish in, like, you know what I mean, in this world. Like that's the only thing I'll say a criticism about this show. I continue to feel, and maybe that's why it's different in Game of Thrones in that regard too.
I just actually thought about this, and it's like kind of what you're saying and then what Jay said, and then just my own thought. When they created this show, there was so much, remember we talked about this at episode 1, like when we first started talking about the show, there was so much pressure for the show to succeed
Yeah,
that I think they had no guarantee that they were going to have a season 2, 3, XYZ. So they had to get so much information and so much story into one season that I
yeah,
think that's why they crammed so much into it the way that they did. But what Jay said earlier, I think it's like they do have time now. If they have 2 seasons or 3 seasons or 4, they have time to kind of spread it out.
flesh
So I
that
think
out. Yeah,
so I think because we know that this story ends, there's an end date for this story, and we know how this story ends. So it's like I think they can now stretch this out for the
yeah.
whatever seasons that they're gonna have,
And they also
versus
keep
like
you guys happy because you guys were so Game of Thrones fans. I mean, even me now was so upset about the last season being short and cut, short and sweet. That was like a big fucking deal, right? That you
but
guys
that
were
was
saying to me,
different
so
than
that
this because
they can
we
drag
don't
this one out smarter.
we didn't know how Game of Thrones was going to end. Like they could be still making Game of Thrones episodes. Like it never had to necessarily end when it did.
Mhm.
Whereas
I
this
mean, we don't know
will
when this
end.
dynasty ends. I mean,
We
yeah,
do.
okay, you
Like,
get
we do. It does
we
end.
get it.
Like it has to end. But like it
Or I mean,
when they
at least.
created the show, like what Nico was saying, like they crammed so much, they didn't give time for character building, whatever. Who knows? Maybe in season 2, they are going to go back and do like memory
Specifics.
scenes,
Yeah.
right? With like about all these
Yeah.
characters and talk about like who the Valerians were, who this House Strong was. Like maybe they'll do that because they have time now, but they didn't in season 1 because they
Also,
didn't know how successful it was going to be.
also, like, again, like, I will say, if the intentions and if you follow the name House of the Dragon, it is the focus is supposed to be on the Targaryens. Maybe they're leaving room for other spin-offs to kind of explore other areas of this world. It just felt like such more of a lived in world in Game of Thrones, with all the fucking characters that we got on that show and different places that we bounced around to in Westeros, around the world. And this just seems so, like, you know what I mean? Like it just seems so much
Pinhold, like
smaller.
it's like
Yeah, I don't know. It's, again, it's just by comparison, right? So, but I
Yeah.
will say, like, in that same regard, it is good that the identity of this show in many ways is different than Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people will say that no, it's not. It's like the same shit. Yeah, and there's some stuff obviously that is very similar. You can't really get away from what makes these shows good in that sense. But it does have a different personality, I think, to it. This show and the choices that they make, I think, in the
Yeah.
storytelling. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the one with the blonde dreads went out to see, not the son, but the father, and
Yeah.
he's the one that you're talking about died.
He
Yeah.
didn't. Well,
Okay,
he hasn't died. He's been wounded. Anyways, well, okay. Let me
Yeah,
start
yeah,
this.
no,
Yeah.
I remember now. No, I thought you
So,
said he died for a second. Sorry,
yeah, no,
that's why it tripped me out.
it,
No, I was messing with my head. Sorry. Go ahead. I know what's going on now.
yeah, no. So the scene opens like Nico mentioned. So we're at high tide again. Rhaenys and her granddaughter Bela are in the Hall of Nine, which is basically their throne room in Driftmark. 6 years has passed since the last episode and the funeral of Lena. And Rhaenys is sitting on the throne, and she's listening to the Maester report on her husband, Lord Corlys, who has spent some time fighting in the Stepstones to maintain Westeros's hold. So, if we remember from a few episodes ago, they defeated the Crab King, and they were holders of the Stepstones, but now it's come into question. Like it's being overrun again. Anyways, Corlys has been seriously wounded in an ambush by Triarchy forces. And I think last time we talked about the Triarchy being like a few continents in Essos, like across the sea. Anyway, so that's that. His ship is expected to return to Driftmark in 3 days, but his fever might claim his life. Sir Vaemond Valerion, who is Corlys's brother, he's also in attendance, and he insists that as Corlys's closest kin, that he should inherit Driftmark if his older brother dies, rather than Corlys's preferred choice of Lucerys Valerion, who Vaemond asserts as the bastard son of Rhaenyra and Harwin Strong. When Rhaenys warns that her cousin, King Viserys, would have Vaemond's tongue for such words, Vaemond retorts that Alicent Hightower rules in Viserys' stead, and he expects her to ratify his claim to Driftmark. So that's interesting, because it's like, oh, since when does Alicent, rule, like what's happening over in King's Landing? Woo, let's find out.
Yeah.
So we go now. We're next scene. We're in Dragonstone, and we see Prince Daemon. He's climbing a volcano called Dragonmont, and it's overlooking Dragonstone Castle. And while he's there, he's climbing through the rocks, and he recovers 3 dragon eggs, like kind of in like a mushy pod or something. The
3
dragon
eggs?
Syrax. I think Syrax is his. Is that his or is?
I think so.
I think that's his dragon. Anyways, she laid 3 eggs, and so he retrieves them and he hands them over to the dragon keepers upon his return to Dragonstone. Within the castle, the pregnant Princess Rhaenyra watches her oldest son, Prince Jace or Jacaerys, reciting High Valyrian with the Maester. And she reassures her son when he keeps reprimanding himself by making mistakes that he has plenty of time to learn. Rhaenyra dismisses her oldest son and his younger brother Joffrey. Joffrey was a baby in the last episode, along with the Maester, as Daemon enters, wanting to discuss a letter sent to them by Baela from Driftmark. And again, just a reminder, Baela is Daemon's daughter.
Right. And Cyrax is actually Rhaenyra's dragon, apparently.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay,
The
right.
yellow one.
Okay, okay. Because his is Caraxes, I think. Then maybe that's what it is. I couldn't remember which one is which, but Rhaenyra is furious at Vaemon's intentions, particularly since she expects Alicent and Otto Hightower to side with him, noting that if Lucerys's claim to Driftmark is overturned, by extension, Jace and her own claim to the Iron Throne will be jeopardized. So again, similar theme. It's the same thing, storyline on repeat here. Rhaenyra is also concerned that the letter mentions Rhaenys has returned to court. Since they cannot be sure of her intentions, Daemon confidently asserts Rhaenys will not support Vaemond, given her taking Baela as her ward. Rhaenyra argues that Rhaenys still blames them for the death of her son Laenor, and has only taken in Baela to honor her daughter's memory. Both conclude that they will need to return to King's Landing to fight for Luke's claim. So, interesting. Now we know that they're all going to be in King's Landing again.
Yeah, it's like going to King's Landing is like deciding to have to go to downtown Toronto. Like for people, they're like, "Oh fuck, I gotta go back to King's Landing."
Yeah, seriously.
Like people coming out of the city, going into the city, like fuck, gotta go downtown. Traffic and
yeah, it's like, oh god, where are we gonna park?
That's kind of like
gonna get there.
That's what I felt like the trouble like in their heads are like, oh, we gotta go to King's Landing.
Funny.
They're like, we have no choice. Like, I guess we gotta go back because they've literally been off on their own this whole time, right? Through the 6 years, it sounds like.
That's so funny that you made that. I never thought of it, but you're so spot on correct with that.
Yeah, it's a big hassle, right? Most people do. That's what I mean. That's literally the note I made for this scene because I felt like it was just like, I guess we gotta go down to King's Landing. They're both looking at each other. Like, these people got dragons. You know what I mean?
We're gonna park a dragon.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's funny.
The streets can only probably fit a horse and carriage down in nowadays. Yeah, so.
So the next scene is Rhaenyra and Daemon arriving in King's Landing, accompanied by her 3 sons and Daemon's younger daughter, Rhaena, at the Red Keep. But they are surprised that they are only greeted by Lord Alan Caswell, who's in attendance. So they usually when people of their status are arriving, they would have a huge entourage greeting them, but there's nobody there. Their anger at the lack of reception only grows when they discover that in their absence, the Red Keep is now festooned with iconography of the Faith of the Seven. Rhaenyra outright states that she barely recognizes her old home.
Faith of the Seven, eh?
Yeah, those guys. So both Rhaenyra and Daemon, they head toward Viserys' chambers, and they find his model city of Old Valyria, that model city that he was constantly working on and building, is covered in dust and cobwebs, having been unattended for years. Much to their horror, Viserys is bedridden, disorientated, and clearly in pain. His hair all but gone, his teeth rotten, and his face swathed in bandages. What a scene.
Yeah, but I mean, he's hanging in there, man. This guy, he's hanging in there somehow. I don't know.
He
Going
looks
for the long
worse for
haul.
wear. He's like
Yeah,
a walking corpse. Like
yeah, like
he's
the teeth
like,
that are all rotten, stuff like that. But like, yeah, for sure.
and I honestly, okay, him laying there, it's
Don't
like
even.
I could
I
smell
like
his
you to say
breath.
his. Yeah, I was gonna say. I knew that was kind of coming out. It was like, don't even. That
I
makes me
could
fucking gag
smell
right
his
over my mouth.
rank breath like through the TV screen, like, and I wasn't even there. And this was like 500,000 years ago, and it's also a fantasy land, but I can smell his breath.
Yeah,
Like,
you look bad. You look bad. Yeah, you could for sure. I
Oh
agree with you.
man.
I agree with you. Yeah.
so Damon, so Rhaenyra, she announces herself. You know, he's kind of disorientated, doesn't understand what's happening, but he finally gets it. Then Damon goes right into it and says he brings up the matter of Corlys being wounded in the Stepstones and the succession of Driftmark being disputed, but only for Delirious Viserys to insist that they've already settled. Damon urges Viserys to support Lucerys's claim over Vaemond, but Viserys is confused and remarks that Alicent and Otto attend to court business now.
Of course.
Um, a, then they hear a child crying out from behind the doors, and it draws Viserys's attention there. So Rhaenyra goes out and brings two young children in, and introduces her father to his youngest grandsons from her marriage to Daemon.
Mhm.
She named her sons Aegon and Viserys, just to confuse the situation even further. Okay,
Yeah.
so King
This is the
Viserys,
best. Like that,
he
you just realize how long they've been gone. It's kind of fucked.
he is delighted to see the children, joking the younger has a name fit for a king. That was cute. The children start to wail, and Viserys, stricken by a sudden onset of pain, insists he needs his tea, pointing to a cup by his bedside. Once he has had a drink, Daemon takes the cup from his brother and sniffs it, frowning as he recognizes the scent of its contents.
Dun, dun,
Right.
dun. But we
Yeah.
don't really know yet. But
Not yet, but
So,
later they mention it. Yeah. I do like the fact that like you now have seen that with the years past that Alicent now is like slowly has more influence over what's happening. Like she's running the show, it looks like, in his place. Like, from everything, like you said, what you had mentioned, like the, I guess the religious aspects of her people that, which is something that the theme echoes like across to Game of Thrones, where they did away with religion, but then they kind of had a presence again, like as it got brought back. And then even like, just like, her, it seems like when they're at the small council in this next scene, like she's actually like in the mix, like more like now that she's like bedridden, right?
yep.
You can definitely see that her and Otto have kind of swooped in and kind of taken over in that regard during this period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sir Harold Wester. So this next scene, Harold Westerling interrupts a meeting of the small council to inform them of Rhaenyra and Daemon's arrival. The council briefly discusses the succession of Driftmark. Grand Maester Orwyle remarks that Corlys wanted Lucerys to succeed him, and a bunch of them like agree with that, agreeing that as Laenor's son, he is the rightful heir. Lucerys, or Luke, is the rightful heir. Lord Jasper Wilde argues that Corlys never formally named Lucerys as his heir, while Sir Tywin Lannister notes that Lucerys has no experience commanding ships, a necessity to hold the position of Lord of the Tides. Queen Alicent declares the claimants can present their petitions the following morning, taking her leave to go to meet Rhaenyra and Daemon, only to be informed by Sir Eric Cargyle that there has been an incident in Prince Aegon's chambers. So in the next scene,
It's your boy, Jay. This is your boy. The one you're like, oh, I love this guy.
in the next scene, we're in Queen Alicent's like apartments, or her, her area, her room. Alicent's lady in waiting, Talia, presents the queen with a weeping girl, Diana, one of Princess Helena Targaryen's maids, confirming that no one else has seen her. At Alicent's request, Diana tearfully explains that when she was trying to serve Prince Aegon his wine, he drunkenly forced himself on her. Alicent is sympathetic to the girl, confirming she believes that Diana is telling the truth, but buys Diana's silence with a pouch of gold and forces her to drink moon tea, that abortion tea.
Yeah.
Afterwards, a furious Alicent confronts a drunken Aegon in his chambers, berating him for his assault on Diana, only
just
the latest
joking.
of many, bringing shame on her and his wife with his conduct, disgustingly declaring Aegon no son of hers. Aegon feebly protests at the weight of expectation placed upon him and the fact nothing he ever does satisfies his parents. But Alicent is unsympathetic. When Helena, unaware of what has happened, enters the room and asks if anyone has seen Diana, Alicent breaks down in tears and embraces her daughter.
Also, that's his wife, is it not?
Yes, his sister is his wife.
So, like, yeah, not only is that going on, he's like raping other women. Like, what the fuck? This guy is a scumbag. I'm
This is like
sorry.
a
Like,
Ramsey,
and then,
no, or
Such
like
a
not
little
even.
whiner.
and
Like,
then his mother
I
has
never
to
asked for
like,
this.
right. And he just like, he's just drunk all the time, and
He's
then
trying
his
to wake
mother,
up. It's like sun out, and,
and then his mother has to like do like, yeah, she has to continue like just cover this shit up, right? Like, she's forced to make like terrible decisions as a result of like, him being a fucking layabout, does fuck all, and makes bad choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel for
Yeah.
him.
You
Sorry.
Look at his name, Aegon. It's his boy.
So I guess after Alicent deals with her, honorable son, the next scene she enters Viserys's room, and Rhaenyra and Daemon are there, and they are discussing the extent of his deterioration. The couple outright accuse Alicent and Otto of keeping Viserys stupefied on milk of the poppy so that they can rule in his name without interference. And when Alicent protests that Viserys's condition leaves him in agony and the Maesters recommended this treatment, Daemon sarcastically asked if the Maesters also prescribed stripping the Red Keep of Targaryen heraldry in favor of the Faith of the Seven Stars. Alicent retorts, saying such devotional displays are meant only to guide and remind her of the higher authority, which is a slap in the face because as a king, her husband is technically the highest of authorities, and that's it. But anyways, Rhaenyra questions which authority will decide on her son's right to his own inheritance. Alicent smugly replies that it will be her and her father in his capacity as Hand of the King. That was a very, I like that, like back and forth, like jabber that they both had.
Question, they had the
You could just ask the question. You don't have to pose it.
Shut up, man. No, listen. The colors of the dresses, isn't that like what you said from Game of Thrones? The two different colors of the green and the red.
Yeah, so the house
wearing different ones. It's weird.
Yeah, so the house colors, like so Targaryen house colors are black and red. Nico, you're laughing.
No, sorry.
And the High Tower, High Tower colors are green and gold.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So that's why, like, Alicent, even though she's married and her name, she's a Targaryen by marriage, her children are Targaryen by marriage, she still chooses to wear green just as a power thing, just to show that she's, like, not Targaryen.
What's her house again? What is her house?
Hightower.
Oh, right. Otto. Yeah, that's right. Which I don't know. Is that talked about in Game of Thrones at all, the High Towers? Or is that like a lineage? I guess that's just done away with by the time that, oh, okay, well, there you go.
They don't have any brothers.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have any brothers that Otto has talked about. He's so focused on You know?
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't think that name was ever mentioned on Game of Thrones.
No, I
Okay.
think it ends up being
That's
the
interesting.
where the Marjories, the Tyrells.
Okay, yeah. So she's like from she's
At
one of the richer houses than those people. Then, if that's the case, yeah, because the Tyrells were the other than the Lannisters, or even more so the
Highgarden.
Lannister. Yeah, they were like the richest people in the realm, right? At that point, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
It's just
see.
funny. I noticed the dress
Da-da-da-da.
colors from now to then, and then because she had mentioned something about it during the Game of Thrones stuff. That's why it threw me up.
Mhm.
Yeah. When Rhaenyra questions, oh no, we saw that already, or we
Red
said
Keeps
that
Yard, I think,
already.
is where you are.
In the Red Keeps garden, Jace fondly reminisces about their boyhood days training there. So him and his brother Luke are, sorry, not the gardens. They're back in the yard, like in the Red Keep, and Luke is more self conscious of the stress of the stares of the courtiers, aware that his resemblance to Harwin Strong rather than Laenor Valerian undermines his claim to Driftmark. The brothers notice a crowd forming around a sparring match. To their shock, they see Kristen Cole dueling with their uncle, Prince Aemond Targaryen, who has grown into a formidable warrior since they last met. Aemon defeats Cole, who compliments the victory, remarking Aemon will swiftly be winning tourneys before long. Aemon makes clear he has no interest in such things before noticing his nephews in the crowd, asking Jason Luke if they've come to train, with a menacing edge in his voice. He's got a very pronounced chin.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Jace and Luke are saved from having to answer by the arrival of Vaemond, escorted by his people and several Hightower guardsmen. Vaemond meets privately with Otto and Alicent, pledging the Valerian fleet to support them in return for acknowledgement, or acknowledging him as heir to Driftmark.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's that. Any thoughts or
No, not
any
really.
thoughts?
No, not yet.
Um, in the Red Keep's Godswood, Rhaenyra meets with
That's
Rhaenys,
my tree.
accompanied by Rhaena. Oh God, all these names, you know. Rhaenys is delighted to see her younger granddaughter, but less so Rhaenyra, who asks Rhaena leave to let the older women talk privately. Rhaenyra concludes Rhaenys is in King's Landing to advocate for her own claim to Driftmark rather than in support of Vaemond, but Rhaenyra insists that the proceedings are a trap engineered by Otto and Alicent meant to insultingly denounce Lucerys. An angry Rhaenys snaps that Rhaenyra did worse when she cuckolded Laenor. Oh my God, these words.
Cuckold. I mean, they are very distinctive, these words. They
Oh
really
my
stand
God.
out.
Um,
You're doing a great
Rhaenyra
job.
ins- Rhaenyra insisted that she loved Laenor and that she was uninvolved in his death. She also offers to betroth Jason Luke to Baela and Rhaena, allowing Baela to be Jace's queen and ensuring rule of Driftmark will pass through Laena's line by Rhaena as Rhaenys originally wished. Oh my God.
It's a fucking tongue twister. Holy
Ra-
shit.
I
To
know,
get through that
Rhaenys
sentence.
I know. Rhaenys seemingly rebuffs the offer, remarking that she must stand alone.
That was awesome.
Are y'all lost? No, I'm not, but are y'all? Like, it's crazy
No,
how
but
many,
you
like,
with you pronouncing the names the right way, I would have probably just had them all the same. It would have messed me up, man. Trying to read
Yeah.
that, man. That was a
Reina,
tongue twister as
Rhaenys,
you're.
Rhaenar, Rhaenys, Reed,
I know.
They just have
Remus.
a few letters that are switched around, like,
Well,
and it makes such a difference when it comes to pronunciation.
I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes we need to, like, create, like, a family tree and just, like, bring it up every once in a
they
while.
got them. Yeah, I mean, I could bring one up. Yeah, but, but yeah,
We gotta do
Um,
subtitles in Valerian. Targaryen, sorry.
So next scene, that night a storm batters King's Landing. Rhaenyra sits at Viserys' bedside. He awakes and briefly mistakes her for Alicent before Rhaenyra corrects him. She asks her father if he believes in the Song of Ice and Fire, the dream of Aegon the Conqueror, as a true prophecy. She reminds Viserys that he told her it was their duty to hold the realm united against the return of coming evil, but warns his naming her heir divided the realm and she's found that the burden of that duty a hard one to bear. Rhaenyra tearfully pleads for her father to defend her and her children if he believes the dream true, but Viserys is too delirious from pain, illness, and medication to respond. Rhaenyra weeps at the realization even her beloved father has forsaken her to fend for herself.
Yeah, this is what I was again talking about a little bit last episode about how like he's really fucking made it difficult for her given like his decision making and in the past of that now when he actually is unwell and like bedridden, that she really has like no power currently, like as a result of like, yes, she's supposed to be the queen when he goes, but like everybody is contesting that fact even more so because he chose to put her in that position. And now like since he's done that, everyone has fought, you know what I mean, on either side of like like, and now she can't even turn to him for any help or guidance in the matter because like he's fucking bedridden, right? So like it's like it really puts her, it really makes things difficult for her in the moment, right? So
Well, yes and no. Like, I mean, like, he did what he had to do, which was fine. She fucked it up. Like,
yeah,
she screwed up by having children with other people. Like, she didn't have to do that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like, she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't be heir and then be pissed off when people are trying to
It's like
say
a
your kids are
Targaryen thing, I
bastards
think. Eh?
when they are. Like,
yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
The next scenes, there's a bunch of maesters now in Viserys's room. They're tending to his wounds. And Viserys orders Otto, Hightower, his hand of the king, to arrange a supper that night with all of his family. And he refuses to drink the milk of the poppy. Later that day in the throne room, Otto is seated on the Iron Throne in Viserys's place, and he's presiding over the court over the succession of Driftmark in the event that Lord Corlys dies. Vaemon speaks first, citing House Valerion's history as a survivor of the Doom of Valyria, and as well as citing himself as Corlys's closest next of kin.
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra scornfully accuses Vaemond of serving nothing but his own ambition and basically of treason. But that's only silenced by Alicent because they're just squabbling at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Once Vaemon's petition is concluded, Otto invites Rhaenyra to speak on Lucerys's behalf, and as she's beginning to denounce the entire proceeding as a farce, the throne room doors open, and to everyone's shock, Viserys is standing there and he's hobbling into the throne room, clearly in pain but determined to support his daughter one last time. He declares his intention to sit the throne and preside over the ruling, forcing Otto to withdraw. He struggles to climb the steps of the Iron Throne, initially dismissing the offer of help from one of the lords there, but he stumbles a second time and his crown falls off his head. A figure steps forward to help. Viserys is about to rebuff him, but then realizes it's Daemon.
Mm-hmm.
So Viserys allows Daemon to help him, and Viserys places the crown back on his head.
I got so many notes on this scene. So like whatever. If you guys have anything to say, yeah, I got play. So First off, my favorite scene of the whole episode is this scene. I think it's a fantastic fucking scene that really sums up a lot, I think, about Viserys. And a lot that we kind of gave him short shrift for, with like being like, this guy really doesn't step up, and he's made a bunch of shitty decisions and thought of himself in some regards, and blah 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 blah. Like, you can go on, like he's not a strong enough king to like do what needs to be done in many occurrences. But like, again, like the fact that he actually like went here like in his condition to show support for his fucking daughter, I thought just spoke volumes. Like, I thought that was fucking awesome what he did in this scene. And like, honestly, I got to give it up to him, the fact that he's fucking still breathing, this guy, because even when he like comes in the room, the shock on fucking some people's faces, like, this guy's still living, like, what the fuck? Like, and then the mask, love the mask, because half of his fucking face is eaten away at this point, right? Like, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him. What else? I just really love this fucking scene. Like I said, yeah, he's strong to have survived this long.
It was such a
True
powerful
king.
scene. It
Yeah.
was so good,
He
like
was
so
a true
good.
king that he lived up to be, that he's been saying
Yeah.
he's going to be.
But that's why you got a rare moment of respect from Damon in this scene too, which I also really fucking liked, because even he was just like, look at this fucking guy, like he's like dying, he's like on death's door, and like, you know what I mean? That's why he bent over to give him the crown, because like, let me fucking help you here, like you know what I mean? Like, because like, I know you're too prideful to take it from like these other guys, but like, I'm your brother, let me help you out here. And like, he would never have done that if he was well, you know what I mean? So like, I think like he gained so much respect from him in this moment. Like, even he was just like, okay, no, I can't stand here and like let you fucking do this, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, I really liked this for that many reasons, that being one of them as well. But and again, just to show the love and support for his daughter, I thought was great too, because like, he would never. But one question I had about this, and this is kind of like, this bugs me a bit, could they not bring the fucking proceedings to him, like where he is? Does he have to sit on the throne to declare all these statements? Like, I get it, I know it's very important in terms of this, the symbolism of it being the throne and everything like that, but
But he didn't want to show weakness either.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's a good point. I just like, is that possible? Could they have moved the proceedings? And that's true. You don't want to
I
see him
don't,
laid up in bed. No, you're right. You don't want to show being laid up
and
in
I
bed.
think
True.
it's like,
It
I
only
think there's
questions it.
something that's like, the court or the throne room is like a public place almost. So it's like, if they're gonna decide things like succession, like, it's gonna happen in that room, because then the
Yeah.
public and other lords and stuff can be there to watch it and witness it. Where it's like, you're not gonna have all these people in the king's private bedchambers. Like, that's not gonna. But yeah, that's a good question, and that's a good point.
I just didn't know if no, Jay's right what he said, but I didn't know if that was possible. Like, you would think he would be, because he's the king. He'd be like, hey, well, now all these things are happening in my bedroom, and you can all just
Well,
stand around, I'll say shit from the bed, like, you know what I mean?
I
What do you
also
think?
don't think I
Can't
also don't think like he had any intentions of being there until he was off the milk of the poppy and he had like clear
Yeah,
like
yeah,
thought, right? Clarity.
yeah.
So I don't think they even figured he was going to show up. Obviously, they were all shocked that he showed up.
Yeah, like the look on Corliss's brother there.
Vaemond, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck? When this guy walked in, because if not, like, they would have just all continued their bickering. But then they're like, oh
Mhm.
shit, it's fucking Viserys,
Yeah,
right?
everybody's got to shut up.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
yeah.
And as soon as, yeah, go ahead, but you can continue to see. But as soon as he gets on the throne, I have more thoughts after this next part. But like, as soon as he sits on the throne, this guy's like right in, like, okay, on to business now, right? I loved it. Great stuff.
Mhm. He
Great
took like a deep breath and then so this continued part of the scene was so he sits down and he declares Viserys declares his confusion as to why a settled succession is being debated, noting the only person fit to give further insight into Corliss's wishes would be his wife, Rhaenys. Rhaenys steps forward, and to the shock and anger of Vaemond, Otto, and Alicent, Rhaenys asserts that Corlys always wanted Lucerys to succeed him as Lord of Driftmark, a decision she supports. And then she continues and says, and she is confident Corlys would support her decision to also accept Rhaenyra's proposal to betroth Jace and Luke to Baela and Rhaena. So that was also something new that, was what's the word I'm like
Concocted.
confirmed.
Arranged.
Oh, okay.
Confirmed. Viserys declares the matter settled, affirming Lucerys as heir to Driftmark and the next Lord of the Tides. An outraged Vaemond furiously snaps that Viserys has no authority to decide House Valerion's fate when he broke centuries of tradition and Westerosi law to install his daughter as heir, angrily denouncing Lucerys as no true Valerion. Angered by Vaemon's presumption, Viserys coldly reminds Vaemond that he is nothing more than a second son, whereas Lucerys is the king's true-born grandson. Vaemond refuses to be silent, raging that he will not allow House Valerion to end on account of Lucerys, holding his tongue before openly calling the boy a bastard.
The balls on this fucking guy in this scene. Bastard! Whore!
When he says it, he just pauses, and then Daemon's like, say it. Oh, man.
You can see
yeah.
why the Valerians didn't survive. I think
Yeah, they fucking big mouse.
they got screwed over. No, they got screwed over like left and right though too. Because again, he's right. It's ridiculous. He's like, these are clearly not Valerians.
Yep. Daemon, glaring at Vaemond, dares him to say the word that will damn him, and Vaemond, too blinded by rage to hold back, bellows that Rhaenyra's children are bastards and she is a whore. As the court murmurs at this outburst, he apoplectic. Oh my god. Anyways, Viserys rises to his feet and draws his dagger. Poor Viserys.
That part was gangster. He's just like, I'll cut your tongue for that. I'm like, bro, this guy get a dagger. He's dying. And then the next thing he's like, ah.
That's like Al Pacino trying to fucking redo like Scarface.
That part was so sick because you hear him like unsheath it, I think, and he's just always
yeah.
like, ah.
I'll have your tongue for this, you know?
Like he keeled over what he's doing. I'm like, bro.
It's like it was too heavy for him.
Who's this guy gonna stop in this condition?
I know.
Bro,
sick though. Sick. I loved it.
Yeah, Viserys rises to his feet and draws his dagger, vowing to take Vaemon's tongue for the insult to his daughter's honor. Before he can, though, Daemon slices off the top of Vaemon's skull with Darksister, quipping that Vaemond can keep his tongue, before casually cleaning and sheathing Darksister as Otto bellows to the King's Guard to disarm Daemon.
What a sick fucking death too. And the cool thing was
like on an angle that his tongue was still there.
Yeah, but the visual too was cool because like you see him standing there, you don't really see him behind him, and then when he fucking goes to swing the sword, then it kind of like you just see like half of his head like slide off, like he said in like an angle of the cut, right? And then like you see him
his
like
tongue was still there. He did it perfect.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Like, that's skill, bro.
That was crazy.
Let's see. The shock and exertion overcome Viserys, who collapses in pain on the throne. But despite a panicking Rhaenyra and Alicent pleading to take him with him to take medical assistance, Viserys refuses, insisting he must make things right. That was an intense scene. That scene was incredible. The whole scene.
I loved it. I mean, I don't know what was my favorite part. The him coming into the throne room, followed up by him pulling out the dagger, and then Buddy getting his head chopped off and calling him bastards and whores. Like it was just one great fucking thing after another for this whole fucking sequence of events. I loved it.
Absolutely.
I was so surprised. I was so surprised how precise he was too at cutting it with leaving his tongue in there. That was the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Another
so Kristen
scene
was right. He'd be a good knight. He'd be good at battle now, or whatever he said to him.
And another like quick scene. Rhaenys is watching over as the Silent Sisters prepare Vaemon's body for burial. Grand Maester Orwyle urges her to leave, noting it is considered bad luck to look upon the face of death. but Rhaenys dismisses him, remarking that the stranger who has come for her family so many times no longer cares if her eyes are open or closed to him. At the same time, in his personal chambers, Viserys dines with both sides of his family. Oh, this is like in the next scene. So now we're at the dinner scene that Viserys has ordered.
Right.
Removing his. Why is this? Anyways, so they're sitting down and they're all whatever. Anyways, Viserys, wanting to show his true self, takes off. He removes the mask that he has and to show the extent of his facial decay.
Mm-hmm.
That was wild. His
Yeah.
eye is like eaten
Crazy.
out. His cheek is gone. Like it's like he's literally a
horror movie.
walking corpse.
Yeah.
Viserys beseeches them all to reconcile their differences, both for the sake of unity in House Targaryen and out of love for him. Rhaenyra and Alicent try to broach their past estrangement, with Rhaenyra toasting Alicent's diligent care of her father, and Alicent acknowledging they are both mothers who love their children, saying
Was
Rhaenyra
that
will
fake
make.
or not?
I think
I
it
think
was.
we see that in a moment. Like at least maybe not with those two, but the rest of them for sure. It's all
Well, strategically placed it the way they did that, eh?
I think the two of them, they were doing it for Viserys because they obviously saw that he was trying to make an effort. So it's like, let us put our different. He doesn't have long to live. So let's
Obviously.
give him this one happy moment where we're all getting along
yeah.
so that he can die in peace because he's obviously not going to survive much longer. Let's just give him peace and
Yeah,
then
he asked
we
for that
can
dinner too. Yeah.
You did,
go
yeah.
out, you know?
And like when we started redoing this show, that was my one memory of this character and takeaway was like how he, like on his deathbed, he just wanted everybody to get along in this family, which is what actually was one of the main reasons I really liked this character, was because of that, right? Like I didn't really focus on obviously the negatives about him until we really kind of revisited this now and had to like look at these things and analyze them a little bit more. But like that was my big takeaway about this character, is like at the end of the day he just didn't want his family beefing with one another, which is like a respectable thing, right? Like he wanted everybody to be like, yeah, we're okay with one another, and he kind of did get that, you're right, in this moment a bit. Whether it was true or not, yeah, we know it's not as we see things unravel later on. But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, they're having dinner, and Aegon now he makes several leery passes at Baela, much to Jace's annoyance. But acknowledging his father's wish for peace and reconciliation, Jace instead chooses to toast his uncles in remembrance of his fond memories of their shared childhood. Elena also offers a toast to Baela and Rhaena at their prospective marriages, as well as make a subtle jab at Aegon regarding their own, much to the amusement of everyone at the table.
Oh, can I see what she says? I have it written
Absolutely,
down here.
yes, please, yes.
Like, it's not so bad. He just ignores you, except for sometimes when he gets drunk.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, how brutal is this? And like, to follow up on what Jay said about how, like, you know, it's really uncomfortable in some of these scenes, or even you mentioned it, Christina. It's true. Then the other scene, like prior to this, he says like, oh yeah, you do know where to put your cock, right? As he's talking about him banging his fucking like cousin. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, because like the intermingling now is just right out in the open. They're talking about like sex acts with their own family. Like, I'm like, just really, like, I get it if that's what you're doing, but like this, I mean, I don't get it, but it's fucked up. Now it's just getting weirder as time goes on in this show, right? Like how comfortable literally everybody is with
every
it.
time you interlope, I think you lose something, right? Lies or something like that in Nexus, right?
True.
So
I just like, this is one of those scenes where, like, again, he thought that she's an idiot, and she's sitting there, like, she's just like, oh yeah, I mean, it's fine. He just ignores me, and
Marriage is fine. Like, he ignores you for the most part, except on a few occasions when he's drunk. You know, it's like, oh god.
Yeah. Anyways.
I can confirm that marriage is not entirely like that. So
except when you're drunk, right?
no, that's when he really ignores you.
Oh boy.
So that's going on. As several musicians in the corner begin playing, Jace invites Helena to dance with him, which she happily accepts. Viserys smiles contentedly as both sides of his family enjoy themselves before retiring to his chambers for the night. This was actually like a fun scene. Like they showed a lot of them laughing, and it was very lighthearted. And you're like, oh, okay, wow, like they actually seem to be getting along for once. Like, okay, like I don't know how this scene's gonna end, but fine.
Right.
So he leaves thinking that all is well. Well, unfortunately, once he is gone, that mood is ruined when Lucerys, amused at the memory of the pink dread, can't help but snicker when a suckling pig is set on the table before Aemond. Actually, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, because they were making
I
fun of
didn't
him for not
even.
having a dragon previously, right? That's why he laughed about it, but he didn't find it all too funny because of that.
No,
Yeah.
I
You didn't catch that,
honestly,
eh?
I did not even catch that until right now. Wow. Okay. Infuriated by the memory of his childhood humiliation, Aemon gets to his feet and sarcastically toasts. Ooh, oh my, I can't speak. Sarcastically toasts Jace and Luke, calling them wise, handsome, and strong.
All right.
Aware Aemond is indirectly insulting them, Jace and Luke promptly get into a fight with Aemond and Aegon before Daemon separates them. Rhaenyra sends her sons back to their quarters while Aemond backs down and leaves after Daemon stares his nephew down, recognizing it is not worth picking a fight with a man who has already demonstrated his willingness to use lethal force in defense of his stepsons. Rhaenyra and Alicent briefly commiserate over the antics of their sons. Rhaenyra promises to return on Dragonback once she's seen her family safely back to Dragonstone, with Alicent remarking she and the king would both like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, Aemon looks sick with that fucking eye patch, though. Like he looks like a menacing fucking guy. All right.
His
Yeah.
long, like pin straight hair and his like eye patch. It's just like
Yeah. It's pretty sick.
pure villain energy.
Yeah.
I love
I gotta
it.
start wearing an eye patch, I guess. Fuck.
Because you know how like everyone says like, yeah, this is my villain origin story and shit like that. Like that's essentially like the fact that his other cousin there cut him, and he has that lasting reminder of this shit that went down between the two of them, and he's clearly like he's grown, like he's a big tall fucking guy, and the other guy's like quite small still compared to him. Like I like the animosity that these two have for each other, or more so him for the guy who is it Jace that cut him? I can't remember.
Luke. Remember, he's the
Okay.
little one. Yeah.
Right. So
Lucerys.
I like that relationship between those two.
So as the next scene, it's a quick scene that kind of like alludes to something that's going on, but we're not sure. Talia, who's the queen's maid that we saw earlier this episode, she is now in the city and she's visiting a lavish house, mansion belonging to Mysaria. Mysaria was Daemon's Hobeg from like
Yeah.
3 episodes ago or
From the
whatever.
Pleasure House. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't get a hard on with that one.
She's apparent. So
His own niece, no problem.
This maid Talia is informing her true employer about events at the Red Keep. Interesting.
Very.
Then in this last scene, we see Alicent at Viserys's bedside, and she's helping him take his medicine for pain. But Viserys is so super confused, disorientated. He doesn't know who he's talking to. He confuses Alicent for his daughter. And he's continuing his previous conversation with Rhaenyra, insisting that he believes Aegon the Conqueror's dream was a true vision and that she must be the one to prepare Westeros against the coming darkness. But
Wow.
Alicent, hearing the Conqueror's name, misunderstands, believing Viserys to be nominating their son Aegon as his successor. So there's confusion there. So once Alicent is gone, Viserys calls out his last words, "My love," to his late wife and quietly dies, unaware of the chaos he has unwittingly sowed.
What a way to go out. This messes things up
Bang,
further.
bro. Nobody heard it
This
really,
last
though.
scene was so beautiful, and apparently Patty Constantine, he said those words, or he said Emma's name, or he said my love without a director's note. He just said it, and they just kept it in the show.
Well, they cut to black, and then he says it in this scene. Like, you hear him
Hmm.
fucking say that, and I actually may have not even caught it if I didn't have the notes, because and then like I kind of just waited around to hear it because I had read the note. And yeah, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
That wasn't in the script. He just said it, and they kept it.
His scenes in here are like are the ones I alluded to previously, maybe even the last episode, that I kind of got emotional at. I think it was just kind of seeing him struggle as how fucking sick he was in that earlier scene, that I was kind of like, it got me a little. I felt like just, yeah, again, and I was sad to see him go. Like, it kind of was we've been seeing him die on this show for some time, obviously, here throughout this whole season, but and it was like obviously the natural progression of it. But it's too bad, because I thought he was a really, really great character, honestly, and
Same.
to see him kind of go off like this, kind of sucked. But but as soon as this happened, I think in real time, like when I actually watched this the first time around, I was like, oh, they're fucked now. This guy's dead. Like, in my mind, I remember my feeling while watching this. I'm like, this is going to go off the rails now, in terms of like, he was the only one that gave a shit about keeping them all, you know what I mean? Like, together in some regards, like, even though they moved apart over time. I'm just like, yeah, this is not good.
I had the same feeling, but then especially when he's talking to Alicent about Aegon, because he says Aegon, he doesn't say Aegon the Conqueror. He says Aegon being the true prince, and being the rightful heir. And he's basically oh my god, and he's thinking he's talking to Rhaenyra, but
Yeah.
he's so delirious, and it's Alicent, and she obviously doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But everybody obviously has the same freaking name in this show, that like it's so, oh, as soon as he was talking about it, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Also, like, they kind of they like like they very slowly went over an object by his bedside at the end. Was that his dagger, or what was that? There was an object that was beside him in his bed that the camera kind of panned across towards the end of the episode. I don't know if you caught that, but it was like it was some sort of
It must have
object.
it must have been the dagger, because it's the only other thing that would have.
The one that heats up
Oh,
and you
I
see
don't
the.
know.
I don't know what it was. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know if there was a significance to it, but there was something beside his bed that almost looked like it was like an arm holding something, but it was like all bronzed and like gold. And I don't know if that was like his dagger in a sheath or something. I'm not sure what it was. I was looking at it.
Was it his gold mate?
I don't
Was it
know.
his
It was
gold
right before
mask?
it faded to black. It wasn't his mask. No, it was right before it faded to black in the episode. I mean, I could probably bring it up on my phone very quickly before we wrap up
I'm
here.
just
Are you
quick.
doing
I
it?
don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Are you looking at it though?
Yeah, you know what? I'll have to look. I'll watch the
Yeah.
episode again and like pay attention, and maybe for the next one I'll like
Yeah, because
bring it up.
I just didn't know if there was any significance towards that, or what the deal was there. But they kind of spent a bit of time when they were kind of before they faded to black, like showing it. So I didn't know if like that was something important, or just like, you know what I mean, foreshadowing of something to come. I don't know, but yeah, great episode. I I really enjoyed this one, and it's because of the Viserys thing, though, for sure. I loved it the most, I think, out of everything so far. But Jay,
I think the series is playing out great so far. Yeah, really every episode seems to be hitting the mark. They're doing a better job, I think, of outlining, like I said, to the time jumps and stuff like that, and making it pretty dominant. Like you can tell, like they stand out now. So uh, you can put it together. They don't actually always 100% say right. So I don't know. I've liked it up to this point, and I'm like I said, I'm been waiting for the second season already, and even though I still haven't finished these last ones two to record.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
dying.
It was
Dun,
really
dun,
good.
Coming up
dun.
next.
Great episode. Great ending scene. Patty Constantine, fantastic actor. So sad he's not joining us for the rest. It's kind of like Sean Bean, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sad.
The first time I watched him get killed in Game of Thrones, I wasn't sure I'd be returning for the second season after that happened. I was really upset by that when that happened. But
Yeah.
luckily that was not the case. So there you have it.
There you go.
But Christina, yeah, great job. Thanks again, once again, for doing the synopsis readout on this episode and joining us, being our third co-host, super fan chair here. Thank you.
Having so much fun, guys. Thank you so much for having me,
Thank
putting
you.
up with my crazy schedule.
I'm glad you're having fun with it, though. No, we make it work. And we still got 2 more episodes to go, everybody. And what is the next episode here? The Green Council is episode 9 of 10 for this first season of House of the Dragon. And for anybody that hasn't heard already, there's only 8 episodes for the new season of House of the Dragon for whatever reason, because of story purposes, they've stated. So there's going to be 8 episodes for the new season. So it'll start and end within the summer months. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. June 16th is probably like mid-August. It'll be over, right? So yeah, make sure to tune in for those when that happens, and like and subscribe. And thank you for everybody that's been tuning in for these episodes. It's been a lot of fun to cover.
Yeah.
So
Thank you guys. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing it.
absolutely. We would just continue to talk about it and in our own personal time. I'm sure we would still be talking about it, right? So yeah.
We would.
No, straight up.
Yep.
All right. So with that being said, yeah, we'll wrap this episode up. Make sure to tune in next week for the final week of episodes, everybody. It'll be Tuesday and Thursday next week. And by the time that last episode airs, that weekend, I believe, is the premiere of House of the Dragon season 2. So if you've been following along with us this whole ride through, it'll lead you right into season 2 of House of the Dragon, which we will be covering week to week. So make sure to tune in for that. All right, Christina, thank you again. JT,
No problem.
thank you. See you, everybody. No more giggles towards the end of the song, guys. All right? Serious. Be in pace. All right, come on.